Hey, what's up? Back at you with another video. Today we're going to be looking at the situation regarding the primary school child CweCwe, who was allegedly raped. And there's been outrage on the streets. There's pictures of a white man being put out, who it seems is the principal of some school out in the Eastern Cape. And there's anger as well because the Afriforum is said to be defending this principal. However, I've heard since then that the Afriforum say they do not defend people and they do not actually defend criminals. So they've come in because as a white man, he has been receiving racist death threats because he's being suspected to be the one who did this. And it's also being said that he frustrated the case. He obstructed justice in some kind of way. And one of those ways is his refusal to give his DNA. So I don't know what the DNA here is about because the parents reported the issue of the child experiencing pain some few days later. And they had to now look backward and ask the child what happened. And the child apparently was not collected quickly enough from school. And so the children were invited from the street to enter the school premises. And it is alleged that that's where the incident took place. And there's a few staff members who were there. And it is said that the principal was not there at all on the day, could not have done this because he was nowhere near the situation. And so we're going to be listening to the ending of an interview here where Bateman of the Afriforum is giving a response or a statement or is taking questions from Kolim Gambi on what this is. He is saying that this man did not do it and he's going to speak about an event that took place. And this is as per the mother's testimony written. He says that there was an event that took place around the time or a few days after this supposed day at the school where the event happened. He says that a few days later there was a family celebration that took place. It was one where there was a sacrifice done. So this seems like it was an African spiritualism ritual. Now, you'll know me, I'm Christian. And the other day regarding the Dr. Kehlelezi grape allegations as well, I did mention in that video that there's an occurrence happening in this South Africa of children who go missing. We hear about children with their parts mutilated. We've come under attacks, very brutal ones, from content creators such as Katlego. And there's been a joining. There's been recruits since then who have come out and they've been speaking about how South Africa is the child grape capital of the world and men of this country should take responsibility for those kind of things. And I've taken exception to this broad brush where men in general are being asked or required to take responsibility for something so heinous. You know, child rape and child abuse of that nature is something called satanic ritual abuse, and it happens with people who are performers of rituals, people who want wealth, people who commune with a spirit that is requiring them to do all kinds of things. If you really want to call out those kind of things and you want to be specific about it and not be so broad, call out a certain practice that is prevalent in South Africa. Call out those kind of issues. So this is an incredibly shocking, amazing thing that I've been hearing my whole life. Now that I have children, I have 2 daughters and a son who is their oldest brother. I think about the safety of my children all the time and I wonder what kind of society do we live in? And so now that this has become a white versus black issue, black people versus the Afriforum, and black people have gone out to voice out anger at the principal and his whiteness, there might just be a twist here where we find that no, the child experienced this from their home. And as you heard me earlier mentioning how these things happen, and then I'm not saying that it's only African spiritualism that does this. In fact, I don't quite subscribe to the term African spiritualism. I don't believe that there's an Indian spiritualism. I don't believe that there's there's a Mexican spiritualism or white spiritualism. Spirits and the world of spirits, the spirit realm, there is no color over there. As we experience spiritual occurrences, as we experience mystical things, as we experience witchcraft and magic, as we experience dreams and visions, there's clairvoyance, there's astral projections, there's all sorts of people on the internet right now who say there's an awakening, there's ways to tap into things. You can understand that there's no border between these spiritual practices. There's no spiritualism that ends at the end of Africa and stops there. The people who are in the Americas, who are in the islands, Barbados, Jamaica, Dominicans, what they are practicing there, voodoo, is something that they departed with from Africa when the slave trade took them from Angola and Western Africa across the ocean. They collected some of their things, or some of them even had their things on them in their skin as they were carried, and upon landing that very night, the first night in America, they then gave praises and evoked spirits that they had traveled with, things that they were practicing back there. So spiritualism has no borders. And when I say that child grape is something that occurs among people of a particular practice, believe me, I am not limiting this towards the black people. I will never operate like a tejo. That which is bad, that which is awful, belongs to everyone whom is currently in possession of that bad thing, and everyone is guilty therefore. So let's jump in here, and then we will listen to Sama Sambit, who's got a quick 12-minute video. Just out of curiosity, I want to hear his video. It says why CweCwe will never get justice. So we will quickly jump into that at the end of this one. Let's listen.
Criminal charges against people who had made death threats and defamatory charges against him.
Yeah, okay.
Which is why we say clearly he's not a suspect. He has never been regarded as a suspect. We do not represent suspects.
Okay, and I'm glad you've clarified that, because then the question, I guess, is appropriate as to the due diligence that you have taken here now that you represent him legally. And I'm saying, what due diligence have you taken given your public stance that you will never defend anyone accused of rape? At this point, it does seem that this case is quite murky. On the one hand, the principal is said to not be a suspect, but there are some publications that are carrying the comments of the police minister who seems to suggest that the principal is a suspect. Last night, I had a conversation with the MEC of Education in the Eastern Cape, Fundile Kate, who is clear that the principal is a suspect. If anything, there is going to be more revelations about other cases that will possibly follow this one. So the question is due diligence. Have you done your due diligence to ensure that you are indeed not representing someone here who is accused of rape?
Absolutely, Goy. There's no evidence that ties Mr. Peterson to the location where the rape allegedly took place, nor is there, to be honest, there's not even evidence to suggest that the rape took place at the school. We make out in details in our letter that if you follow the timeline provided by the mother on how things unfolded between the 14th and the 16th of October, that the child did not report any discomfort or pain on the afternoon of the 14th, nor did she report on the morning of the 15th, nor on the afternoon of the 15th. That evening of the 15th, there was a party at the family's house where they were celebrating the youngest child's first birthday. The husband, the mom says, it's in interviews, the husband slaughtered an animal and they were having a feast, is her words that she used. It was during that party that the child first reported having pain and difficulty with her bottom, and that she couldn't go to the bathroom, and it deteriorated overnight to the point that the child couldn't walk, and that is the point that the child was taken to the SAPS. The only inference, and we say this in our letter to the SAPS, and we tell them that this is an angle that they need to pursue, the only inference is that the alleged rape did not take place at the school.
So you hear that. We know that when there's a party or a birthday for a child, as black people, me excluded, I've never, ever, not one day practiced black ritualism, African spiritualism. I've never been cut with a razor. I've never had any roots or medication rubbed under my skin. I've never bowed in front of any sangoma, in front of any warlock, neither prophet nor prophetess. I've never been that kind of person who is superstitious. I grew up in a Christian home where we read a Bible, where I see people experience problems, and the Bible encourages us to be strong in the midst of struggles. It tells us of times of illness. It tells us about seasons where it will be cold and it'll be warm. And it says, the Lord God Almighty created both the seasons. So praise him in both of them, when it is bad and when it is good. So I've never felt to always want to seek answers, to turn up my antenna and find out what is what in the spirit, what is missing, what am I not doing, what is wrong, who among the dead may be angry. You understand? So I've never practiced any of that, but I know those who have events like birthdays tend to just take the opportunity to bring the friends and family members together as well. And on that day, there will be a slaughtering as well for the family members who are not alive. And so it is said that during this time, something occurred. Could it be something occultic? Were the parents neglectful? Were the parents themselves involved? That is the question we are looking at, and we will find out very soon. In fact, Barry Bateman has gone on to Newsroom Africa again. This was a video, an interview from yesterday, and there's a new one just an hour ago, and we will visit that in a later video. For now, let's just check out this Sambit kid and find out what's happening. I'll be bringing you this one in 1.2x speed so that we get out of here. I'm not gonna comment. I will just watch with you, and you comment and tell me what you think of this young dude.
CweCwe will never get justice. Not in the way we dream of, not in the way she deserves, because South Africa is not built for justice. It's built for cover-ups, distractions, and empty promises. But before you crucify me for saying this, before you get emotional and start shouting, let's break this down step by step. By the time I'm done, you'll either be angry at me for telling the truth, or you'll finally wake up. Either way, I'm not going to make you feel comfortable. Because name a better way to celebrate human rights than to completely ignore them. It hasn't even been 2 weeks, and South Africa has turned into a circus, a nation that pretends to care when the cameras are rolling, but laughs behind closed doors. And CweCwe, a little girl, just another name in the growing pile of tragedies that are talked about, hashtagged, and then forgotten. You know how this goes. A tragedy is gonna happen. People cry, they tweet, and then start screaming about justice. The news channels eat it all up. The politicians show up to act concerned. But then after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, silence. And then the world moves on. I was scrolling through Twitter the other day. I was checking my feed and the latest headlines. And then something caught my eye. The hashtag justice for CweCwe. It was all over the place. And I said, what's going on? My timeline was filled with posts, TikToks, angry captions. And I'm sure you've seen it as well. People posting, ranting, demanding justice for the poor girl. It's everywhere. And we all know how it goes here, right? The viral outrage, petitions, the trending hashtags. It's almost like clockwork. And then when something tragic happens, the outrage machine goes into overdrive. But as I sat there reading through all these posts on my phone, I couldn't help but feel this pit in my stomach. It felt familiar, too familiar. And then it hit me. This isn't the first time. No, it's far from the first time. How many times have we seen the same song and dance? How many times have we jumped the hashtag bandwagon, shared a few posts, and then thought we made a difference? But let's be real. How many of these actually lead to real change? How many times has the noise actually quieted down as soon as the next trending story hits? Because here's the ugly truth. Hashtag justice for CweCwe, like many others before it, is not gonna work. Not in South Africa, not in your climate. And if we wanted to, we'll have to really make it trend. And I'm going to tell you why. So buckle up, Buttercup, because this isn't going to be easy to hear. But if you truly care about justice, you're gonna watch this video to the very end. Let's break this down. Look what happened to Uinene Mkwechaman. You still remember her? Remember Tsegofa Tsopule? The hundreds of nameless, voiceless victims? Their stories were supposed to be the moment that changed everything, right? And yet here we go again, telling the same story with a different name, except this time it's a little girl and not an older woman. CweCwe's name will be used for political points, for news ratings, clickbait articles, but will it bring change? Because the justice system is a joke. You know it, I know it, the criminals know it. Let's be blunt. This country takes crimes against women and children very unseriously. If you have money, you can buy your way out. Here, if you have power, you can make things disappear. Even if CweCwe's killers get caught, even if CweCwe's assaulter gets caught, do you believe he'll stay in jail? South Africa is the country where Oscar Pistorius can murder his girlfriend and serve less time than someone caught stealing bread. Where politicians who steal billions live better lives than you. Justice.
This is juvenile. This is childish so far for me, you know. I mean, I am suspicious of what has happened here. I've expressed it. But I would never be one who says, there'll be no justice. There'll be no justice. The courts are jokes. The judges are jokes. The police are jokes. The investigator is a joke. The statement written by the parents is a joke. Have you ever had or seen people get convicted? It happens all the time. Do some people get away? Of course they do. Is there any country that Sambit can point to where justice is always delivered? This is the earth. Total justice comes from the Lord. He is the one who will judge and exonerate. He will bless and he will condemn, and no one will escape him. But until then, we hope for the justice system to do what it does. We are optimistic. We want things to happen. We don't want to be filled with grief over the child and then despair and despondency because there's a young dude who wants to make a video that gives us a nice twist. It's a springboard from the crime committed on a child towards an attack on the justice system.
It's just a word here, and if you didn't know that, now you in South Africa, because you think the government will actually do anything in this country for cases like these. The people running this country don't care about you, me, or the little girl CweCwe. They care about elections, keeping power, about keeping you distracted and having no electricity. They'll act concerned, they'll make big speeches, new policies, until the news cycle moves on, and then it's back to business as usual. Do you remember all those GBV summits, all those protests, the presidential speeches? What changed? Nothing. They'll use CweCwe's name like a slogan, like a marketing tool, but the system won't change, because if they cared, it would have changed a very long time. I know this is hard to hear, but face it, South Africa is not a safe place. Not for women, not for children, for anyone who doesn't have bodyguards, money, or political power. We are ruled by criminals, we are protected by corrupt cops, and we are judged by a failing legal system. The only time they care is when it benefits them, or is when they'll get a touch of money. So what can we do? Well, you want to know what's worse than knowing the truth? Knowing the truth and doing nothing about it. You want to make a difference? Then stop playing into the hands of this broken system. Stop waiting for the moment the government saves us, because they won't. You know that. We need to start protecting our own communities.
The government, you mean what? Service delivery? Are you talking about the criminal justice system? Are you talking about the courts? Are you talking about the jails? What are we now talking about here? Are we talking about load shedding? Are we talking about corrupt tenders? Edwin Sodi? Were we brought here for that, or are you talking about this young girl? And I see that your video has not quite performed. Well, it's a nice performance considering my channel is still quite smaller than yours, and that should be your average. So this video was average. With your other videos, when they smack, when you really go after the government, the politicians, the corrupt, the inept, those who do not try, those who are drunk, your videos kinda make it close to 100k. They range around there. So this one, it seems people didn't quite feel. When people are in mourning, when people are sad, a YouTuber who comes to get clicks and then points out at others and says that the summits against GBV, the speeches by the president are all for nothing. He has a solution. He will do something. People kind of think you are doing this all for yourself, that you're kind of self-absorbed, that you're not sensitive. You have a right to do YouTube content, but be appropriate. Damn it. This is not about you and your agenda against the ANC. You're talking about the parents and the child, and we need justice for the child, whether the perpetrator is somebody else or the parents. If you kind of had that context, maybe that's what you'd be dealing with here. But I recognize that your commentary is a script. You write a comedic script. You probably have GPT write me 50 jokes about South Africa, load shedding, corruption, etc. And you select some of them and you just put them in your videos, and then it's a moment. This is not it. Be sober, young man.
Stop letting criminals walk free. Stop being afraid to call out corruption. Stop letting outrage die after tweets. There's a petition I have in the description, or may I'll try to have. Sign it and demand real action. Don't make this just another forgotten history. CweCwe deserves more than AMA hashtags. She deserves real justice. But the only way she gets that is if we refuse to let this go. Because our so-called justice system is nothing more than a collection of overpaid, lazy, unfit and incompetent who don't give a damn about anyone but themselves. You think this case is going to be different? Why? Because people are talking about it on Twitter? Because there's a hashtag this time? Because people are putting in sad emojis in the comments? You need to wake up. This system is designed to drag its feet, delay, and eventually forget. This is the same country where brutal killers walk free because of technicalities. The same country where criminals get rehabilitation instead of punishment. The same country where the police don't even show up when you call them unless you bribe them. And you think they're going to put in real effort to get justice for CweCwe?
Don't you think Sama Sambit is talking to an American audience? People would be far and not even touched by this issue. People who would appreciate hearing once again how useless a shithole of a country there is there at the bottom of Africa. But I think people who are loving, people who have children, people who have little sisters, people who love and want to protect women really won't stomach this. This is nonsense.
Number two is because the public will move on quickly. You see, people like to act like they care. They're going to tweet, they're going to comment, they'll make sad videos where their hair's messed up and they start crying. But you want to know what they don't do? they stay. They don't stay, man. Because tomorrow something else is going to trend. And suddenly, justice for CweCwe is going to be forgotten. It's going to be buried under the soccer scores, celebrity gossip, and whatever nonsense the media decides is more important than what happened to this poor girl. You've seen it before. People are going to cry over tragedies, but then the moment something else grabs their attention, they're going to move on. Their outrage has a 24-hour expiration date. And that's why CweCwe's assaulter will walk free. Because the people who are screaming for justice today won't even remember her name a month from now. Mark my words. And after a month, come back to this video and go, oh snap, he was actually right. Because you know I'm right. Nobody's going to. What, you think that the news channels are going to care? They'll just milk her case for views until it dies. And you know why? Because keeping it alive doesn't make the money.
This is so narcissistic because he's gonna be one of the people creating videos about other things, about celebrities, about South Africa and how stupid people are over here. Instead of saying come back a month later and I will have made several videos on this issue, I pledge myself not to let go of this. I will be distinct. I will be different from the people that I'm condemning. I will do something different. He's not saying that. And that stupid ass petition of his, I'll click the link and follow it. I bet you that probably leads to some bank details or something like that. And so if that's the case, then this is a grift. Let's listen. Let me follow the link and find out.
They need fresh outrage to keep you clicking. So the moment this stops getting clicks, they're going to move on. And the justice is going to die with it. And also because South Africans are numb to violence. Do you know how insane it is that we live in a country where hearing about murders, rapes, homicides, and kidnappings is completely normal? People will hear a story like that and say, a shame. And then they go back to scrolling like it's another day in South Africa. That's how broken this society is. If people actually care, they'd be busy in the streets. They demand real change. But nope, they'll post a status and go back to business as usual. I don't see signs outside. I don't see outrage. I don't see people protesting. All I'm seeing is hashtag justice for CweCwe. How do you think that's going to work? How many well-connected criminals actually face real punishment when you do that? The answer is almost none. Because the rich and powerful protect their own. What if the man that assaulted her is very powerful and has a lot of connections? If this case threatens the wrong people, let me tell you, trust me, it's going to be buried. Evidence will go missing just like it already has. The prosecutors will lose interest. And suddenly the case is going to collapse and this girl is going to be traumatized forever. Another reason is because the government doesn't care about you or your children. Because if the government actually cared, there wouldn't be thousands of cases like this every day. Children get abused, trafficked, murdered, and other things. And what does the government do? Nothing. They're going to talk, they're going to hold press conferences, they're going to make promises, and then they do absolutely nothing. They let the cycle continue because it doesn't affect them or their kids. Their children are safe. Yours aren't. Another reason is you. Yes, you. The person watching, nodding along. I want to talk about how people pretend to care, but don't actually care. I want to talk about how you like to pretend you care, but don't actually care. You're going to cry about this case today, and then you're going to forget it exists tomorrow when some of that money comes in your account. And the more disgusting thing is people are going to sit around at their braais this weekend because it's month end, talking about this like it's just another conversation topic without some kind of deep remorse, and then they're going to move on. The moment their salary comes in at month end, the moment their team wins the game, the moment a new TikTok trend drops, boom, they forget. They'll say things like, oh, shame, man, it's so sad. I hope they find the man who assaulted her. What a cruel world we live in. Well, let me go to Checkers and buy more beer. They'll just get more beer, change the channel, live their comfortable lives, completely detached from the horror they pretended to care about.
This boy sucks. But so far, you are with me. We are on the form, right? So I filled it a little bit. And then there's the check marks. Let's go sign and see if this goes somewhere. Show my signature. Sharp, email me. I authorize. Let's just choose the top one. I am older than 16. And let's sign and see. Signatures. Okay. So there we are. Share on Facebook, share on WhatsApp, tweet to your followers. Paid advertising. So give me some money. Put in your credit card and PayPal. Proceed to pay, etc. See? Then you can start a petition of your own. So he's collecting some money. He's collecting some money. Did he speak to the parents? Do the parents know that he is busy on his heroic course now, collecting offering for the sermon that he just put on. Let's finish it. We can see the rubbish here now.
Let's be real. Most people only care because it's popular to care, right? They don't want to be the ones who seem heartless. They want to be seen as the good people. That's why you have all these influencers going justice for CweCwe. And then when it doesn't benefit them anymore, you won't see them signing petitions anymore. You won't see them pushing for real action anymore. Give them like months. It's all going to be gone. And I don't even think they'll find her assaulter then even, because the evidence was lost. This is the hardest pill to swallow because you know it.
Ladies and gents, he's saying they won't sign the petition. He is funneling you. This is the Wolf of Wall Street. He has been licking you and buttering you up, and now he's got his young man chef there and he's about to ram you. He's working you. He's playing you. I've been telling you about grifters. It seems like the situation is far worse than I ever could have imagined. So,
It's true. This girl who had an entire life ahead of her just be another statistic, just another name added to South Africa's endless list of kid victims. And the world is going to move on. The outrage will die down and nothing change unless we force it to change. Don't just comment. Don't just tweet. Do something. Sign the petition. Share it everywhere. Keep talking about it. Demand action. Where's CweCwe's community? Where's the community in the neighborhood you grew up in? Fight! Because if you don't fight for it, nobody will. Justice doesn't happen on its own. It happens when people refuse to shut up. So don't shut up. Don't let them forget, because that's exactly what they want. They want to forget about everything that happened to this poor girl. And trust me, the moment you do, this cycle will repeat all over again. And you're gonna have a new victim. And there's gonna be new hashtags. The only question will be at that stage, is that next victim gonna be somebody you know?
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Beware of clickbaiters. Beware of circular pastors. Beware of false morality. Beware of virtue signalers. Beware of charlatans, young and old, gay and straight. Beware of all of them. I will see you next time. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.